let's go, Dave. Now, let's just say that I have gripped Dave Chafee on the table before, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll have to say, I'm just gonna tell you, this is not a word of a lie. I had hand control. Okay, I had hand control. Okay, look. The subset text to that might be that he just had pulled Vitaly Leletin the day before in the most brutal war of his life, and he was beat up. But I know I was actually just doing rehab with him, helping him rehab. But his hand was so blown up and he was so sore that I think my 10-year-old son would have been able to pin him that day. But
I know we all have sort of we see Brzezinski in this, he's the GOAT, right? So
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you might be. Welcome to the Arm Historian Live. We're doing the All-Time Prime Fantasy League, and today I have a very special guest with me. He's been on the channel multiple times. You might know him best as the founder and I think currently only content manager of the armwrestlingarchives.com, one of the best resources out there if you're at all interested in the history of the sport of arm wrestling, and also ripping it up on the grip sport scene out there, so doing really well there too. Eric Roussin, welcome once again. Yeah, me too. I know Eric always comes prepared. Eric has deep insights into the sport, so it's always a treat to have you on here, because I think yours is probably, from all the guests I have on, the deepest as far as actual factual knowledge of what actually happened. So that's always awesome to have on. So yeah, thanks a lot for that, Eric. Yeah, we'll move on to discussing the rules for a second here. For those that haven't seen it yet, these are the rules in a nutshell. All athletes are at their all-time prime. It's a best-of-1 double elimination tournament on the right arm only. We're using roughly East versus West rules. Now, tournament fatigue matters here. We're looking at athletes' previous matches and would they have been tired in their current match based on who they previously faced. That kind of plays into it here a little bit. So that's different from previous editions where we didn't really look at it. And then, of course, finally, Levan is banned. Now, the way this works is you guys vote on the outcome of every single match while we kind of give our thoughts on it and read chat while doing it to get your guys' thoughts on it too. So yeah, that's how it's gonna go. We'll take a look at the brackets here before we get started properly. Let me pull them up here on my end too. Here we go. So over in the winner semifinals, we still have one match to do, which is John Brzezinski versus Hermes Gasparini. A really exciting one to me, at least. One I've wondered about a lot. Both of these guys in their prime, I'd love to see it. Then we have Devon Rat, that's in the losers round here, waiting for his opponent of either Dave Chafee and Vitaly Leletin's match. So the victor of that match will go on to face Devon Larratt. And then over in the losers round 2, which is where we'll be starting, is Travis Bagent versus Andrei Pushkar and Todd Hutchings versus Gary Goodrich. Now remember, before we get started, this is all-time prime. So all the athletes here that we're discussing, it's like we went back in time and grabbed them for this tournament in our time machine to come compete. So that's it in a nutshell. I think our first match is gonna be Travis Bagent versus Andrei Pushkar. Yeah, what do you think here, Eric? Right.
right hand, I think that's what I'm considering Travis's peak.
Mm-hmm.
And as we know, he's somebody who really fluctuates. Like if he's really motivated, he can really reach a high level.
Yeah.
But if he's not, he's way further down. Andre was consistently good, but I guess he was ranked number 1 in the world, or between around 2015, 16, 17. But they didn't, as far as I know, I don't think they pulled each other in those years.
I haven't seen any matches between them, I think, which is
Right.
really interesting. I came to that conclusion, I think, in one of the previous live streams too, and it's really interesting that they never faced each other. Do you have any idea why that is? Was Travis out of the sport a little bit, or busy with Wall, or?
So where it could have happened, but it didn't, or I think maybe they were at the same tournament once, but with the Zloty Tour / Nemiroff World Cup, which was the biggest, most prestigious tournament in the world from the early 2000s till, I don't know, till Wild came around, I guess.
Yeah.
Travis went in 2005, 2004, 2005, 2006. I don't have the years exact, but that time period, and that's sort of when Andre was sort of just starting off. So it's as if Travis stopped going to to Zloty, and Andre started, and then Travis never didn't do very many WAF Worlds except the one where he beat Voda, and then that's where we would see Andre every year, keep winning over and over and over. Now I know Travis. I think it's the 2011 Zloty Tour where Travis did go. And I can't remember if he actually pulled Andre. For whatever happened, he didn't do as well. And I can't even really remember offhand if that was left or right.
Is that
But he had sort of
also where he faced? Is that also where he faced Semerenko, or is that later on? Because
I'm not talking about a super match with Super Arts.
Right. Okay,
But he went to a tournament and he had underperformed, and I'm pretty sure it's 2011. I think it was PAL, but I don't know that I can't remember who knocked him out. But I feel like Travis, we have his performance from 2016 over. He was the top against the WAL guys, but there were very few Europeans. So whereas Andre was going to the Worlds, he was going to the A1 Russian, he's going to all these tournaments and winning,
right.
and really in impressive form. So, I'm not saying I'm positive, but I would think there's more evidence weighing that Andre would have won, and he would have won fast. Like I said, if Travis was able to somehow get the go, but my feeling is Andre would have been too much.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one. I think both of these guys are very explosive out of the gate, right? As far as I remember, Andre was also a very explosive hitter. I think I would have to imagine, kind of echoing what you're saying here, that Andre Pushkar has the experience on Travis in these high-level tournaments at that time with the really high-level athletes around the world. So, not to put Travis down in any way, I think Prime Travis is a dangerous man.
But the wrinkle I'll throw in is if I looked at the previous rounds of this Fantasy League tournament, I know that Travis's matches would have been fast. I think he lost. I think he round 1. I think he beat Vitaly, is it? And then he lost to Dennis.
Let's take a quick look here. I'll pull up the brackets. Travis indeed won against Vitaly in round 1, and then lost against Dennis. Indeed, yeah.
So those matches would have been very quick.
Yeah.
So he probably would have been more fresh because Andre, he actually lost to Michael Todd in first round, I believe, and that would have been a long match.
You're very right. Yeah.
So maybe if they were fresh, I feel more confident that Andre would win. But in this third round of the tournament, who knows? That's a really good point. Might be that Andre is kind of tired out here already, to a degree, at least more so than Travis. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that definitely leaves the door open for Travis. Let's take a look here what Chad is saying about this. Tomer says normal Travis would get smacked into non-existence by a primed Pushkar, but 2016 Travis definitely throws a spanner in the works. Here Tillen says Pushkar for the win. Satire Gaming Salute says Travis is scared of losing. That's why he doesn't pull seriously anymore, okay? Tomer says Travis did pull Pushkar, but before it started, Travis lost on the setup. Fouls in Zloty. Interesting,
Right.
okay. Thanks for that, Tomer. And then Satire Gaming Salute says, just kidding, kind of. Love Travis. Levan Slayer, how you doing? The Lucky Ones podcast, females in arm wrestling, how you doing? Good to have you. Thank you for welcoming them. So yeah, chat seems kind of on the side of Pushkar here, I want to say. Herten and Tomer. Although Tomer is saying 2016 Travis could throw a spanner in the works. And yeah, considering the fatigue here, let's take a look at the actual results so far, which is 50 or 60% voted for Travis so far. I'll let these matches run a little longer since we're gonna do a little less matches during this video. So the total time will still be the same, but we'll do a little less matches.
It's so well. I mean, obviously, it's sad that Andre died, and especially in the manner in which he died. But I really think it'd be an interesting world right now if Andre was around. Because I think people sort of forget or may not be aware of just how dominant he was for how long. I mean, he was good.
Yeah, he really was, and right up until the unfortunate end.
Right.
Yeah, would have been great. I'll leave this running until 7 minutes. So if you want to cause an upset or something right now would be the time, because right now Travis is leading by what I believe to be just one vote. So a couple seconds left to upset here, but looks like Travis will take it in the end with a very narrow victory over Andre Pushkar. So yeah.
Hey, he's doing well. He beat Vitaly and he beat Pushkar. I mean,
You're-
he's having quite the tournament.
You're so right. Yeah. His first round victory must have lit a fire. Yeah, and I can imagine it would against Vitaly. So well done there, Travis. Let's take a look at what that does to our brackets here. Travis Bajan, the winner versus Andre Pushkar. Andre Pushkar, unfortunately, kicked out of the tournament right now. But it's been great having Andre here. Todd Hutchings versus Gary Goodrich is our next match. One of my personal favorite matches here. Especially, I want to hear your thoughts on this, Eric, because this deals with someone, and I'm talking about Gary Goodrich here, who I think a lot of people don't really have a good idea on how good Goodrich really was when he competed. I think that's like a thing people miss a lot that got into sport recently.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Gary was the number one guy on the planet in 95, 96. And no one was even close. Like, if you look at the finals or the matches from the Yukon Jack events from those years,
Yep.
you know, he goes forever. Now, the world was a smaller place, but, you know, John Brzenk, Jerry Cataret, Cleve Dean, all those guys who were in their, their prime ages, I guess.
Yep.
And they couldn't, it wasn't even close. I won't even say it's close. So as good and as awesome as Todd is, I just don't think he'd have the horsepower. And one of the reasons it makes me think this, if you look at his matches, when you see Todd pull against Dave Chafee, Dave Chafee, I know it's just practice, but you can see that Dave Chafee just has too much.
Yeah, that's true.
And Gary was at that level. And when he was on, he was really, really strong. You know, Gary never lost a match to Jerry. Jerry, we know, had a WAL match with Todd a few years ago. I know Todd, his prime probably is right now. I think he's the best he's ever been right now.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, Gary would have been his peak. I'd say 96.
96. Yeah.
So it's almost 30 years ago. But you know, even though the world was a smaller place, to reach the very top spot, you know, it was competitive.
Yeah.
And I would think, you know, on that alone, I would feel very confident that Gary would have been able to win that match.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, if you look at previous matches here for a second, Gary Goodrich won versus Matt Mask in the previous round, And then in the
Right.
first round, lost versus Hermes Gasparini, which I think that kind of makes sense, that result.
Yeah, that I would have said the same thing.
Yeah. And then if we take a look here at Todd Hutchings, I think he made it to the second winners round where he lost versus Devon. And in the first round, he won versus Voivoda, which is also interesting.
Which I disagree with, but I mean, that's how the vote went.
yeah, I get you 100% here. I think that's one of our most shocking results so far. It must be. But yeah, I think Todd might be a little more. I don't know. It might be equal as far as fatigue goes, like throughout the tournament. It might be roughly equal. Yeah, but I think I'd have to agree. Like there's the old adage of the sport evolved and people got a lot stronger now than they were then. So Todd is probably at a higher level than a lot of people in his weight class back then.
Oh yeah.
But like I don't think I'd have a hard time imagining Gary Goodrich in his prime losing to someone that's not above that at least 100 kilo mark or something like that.
Right.
It's very hard to imagine. Let's take a look at chat and see if they agree here. So far, Hutchings is leading with 56% of the vote. So might be a little bias here from our American viewers. Although Goodrich is an American too, but yeah, like more of a reason.
Well, Gary's
Canadian. Yeah, Canadian. Yeah. I guess technically American, but that's not what I meant there. So yeah.
North American.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, maybe a recency bias, more something like that then I guess, or maybe we're just wrong. Let's take a look what people are saying. Chuck, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Welcome back. I want to hear who they pulled against before casting my vote. That makes a lot of sense. Different weight classes, says Stomer. Gary was a big fish in a small pond. Todd is also a big fish in a big pond. But how big are the different ponds? Exactly, that's a good way to put it there, Tomer. And I think that's about it. Jacobs Tyson says, lol, Goodrich have said Jerry was okay. I don't think it's close. Yeah. Gary Goodrich, I don't think had a lot of issues without Jerry Catterett, even though Jerry Catterett was already really good during that time. I think that's also something a lot of people don't really realize about Jerry, that he's been pulling for a really long time too.
35 years, yeah.
Yeah, and has been pulling in that style for a really long time. Yeah. Which is just crazy to me. I don't know how his elbow is still alive at all. No clue, but I think that about a lot
Gary,
of the guys.
For those who don't know, Gary has some cool things. While he was at his peak, he's in 95, he was flown to Japan for a TV show where he arm wrestled 100 people in a row for a TV show, and then it was groups of people, like groups of different athletes, and the last 10 were actual arm wrestlers. He went through them all, and then it was such a success, he was invited back to pull 1,000 people.
Jeez.
And he was given the equivalent to 14,000 US to go.
Okay.
And if he went undefeated, he won another 14,000. And his opponents were motivated because if anyone beat him, they would get the 14 grand. And he beat them all, 1,000 people in 2 hours.
1,000 people in 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's crazy to imagine. Yeah. I wonder if any footage of that is still around.
There's parts of the 100-man footage on YouTube. I've never seen footage of the 1,000-man.
I have to make a video on Gary Goodrich sometime soon. Guy had such a crazy career, and I think like when did he get into the sport? Like 86 or something, or some?
No. His first tournaments were early 80s. He was only 15,
right,
so 81,
okay.
81, 82. He started sort of traveling more. He in the first few years, you've heard of monster arm wrestling, where it's that machine with like a handlebar.
I have.
So he was like the national U.S. national champion when he was like 20 years old.
Right.
But then he got more into actual arm wrestling mid 80s, and then he went over the top. He went to a lot of the big tournaments in the late 80s. From the mid 80s to the mid 90s, he was at most of the big tournaments.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, that's a really interesting career actually. Yeah, really interesting start. The monster arm wrestling, whatever became of that, I wonder.
There's still machines fooling around. There's still tournaments. Very
Really?
few, but there are some.
Are there any actual arm wrestlers participating? Do you know?
I know a few people have tried it.
Okay, but that-
with mixed degrees of success.
Yeah, right.
I just think it looks dangerous to me.
Very, very, very dangerous. Yeah, I totally agree. Would never try that. Meanwhile, on the table here, we're nearing the 7-minute mark, and it seems like Todd Hutchings did take this match. A very close match here with 53% of the votes. So yeah, really close. I don't agree with that result, but it's not my place to disagree here. Todd Hutchings moving on. Gary Goodrich, very unfortunate, exiting from the tournament. Thank you, Gary, for joining us. Todd Hutchings will be moving on to face Travis Bagent. What do you think, Eric? Should we move to the winners semifinals with the John Brasink match, or do you want to do the losers round 3?
No, we can do the John Hermes match. That's fine.
Awesome. Okay, so let's move to our winner semifinals here. The second match of our winner semifinals, which is John Brasink versus Hermes Gasparini. A match, like, it's so unfortunate that we won't be able to see this match, because I think both of these pullers in their primes, which I think Hermes' prime is around this time, or is now, are very versatile pullers, very strong pullers. I would have loved to see this match. What are your thoughts, Eric?
Yeah, I was looking back. I was actually on the call when we discussed this match last year. This was part of the Fantasy League last year.
Interesting. Okay.
And at that time, I said, it is very close. For some reason, I was leaning just slightly towards John. Now, I don't know. Now that I've thought about it, it's a year later. I'm not so sure. Hermes, super impressive. With his recent win against Michael Todd. I was very impressed.
Yeah.
I was very impressed by how he did that, controlled.
The guy can pull.
Yeah. If I look at previous rounds in this fantasy league, so the last match that John won was against Michael Todd, and that he would have had to work for that for sure. So he would be a little tired, while Hermes just beat Dave Chafee, which we know they're in strength, they're close, but I think he would have been a little less tired than just the way that Michael Todd pulls, right? So I think Hermes would be a little fresher, and I don't know, now that I've seen him even more and I keep seeing his gym lifts and seeing him, I'm sort of thinking that he might just have the slight edge on John 2006. I think of John 2006 as his peak.
Right.
Hermes right now. So
I think that is a good place to place John Brazink's peak at around that time. Yeah, I'd have to agree. It's just John looked so dominant when he went to like Nemirov and stuff like that, and Slotty and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just crazy that even there he's still dominated after he's like already done everything. But yeah, Hermes, I don't know, man. It seems like Hermes to me is like, and maybe even more so than Levan for some reason. In my mind, he's kind of the forerunner of the modern movement in arm wrestling. I don't know why. Maybe because in my mind he's more well-rounded than Levan on the table.
Very well. Well, we've seen that he's very well-rounded.
Yeah, for sure.
And he seemed very patient against Michael Todd. We know that he didn't fare very well against Devin a year and a half ago, or whenever that was. But
that's true.
This is a very very, very close match, and I feel that this is the closest match of the three that we've talked about so far.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But although last year I was leaning towards John, and this year I would say I'm slightly leaning toward Hermes.
Yeah. I think I'll probably give the edge to Hermes too here, myself. Right now, chat seems to feel the same way, with I think 69% of the votes going to Hermes. So yeah, chat seems to agree here. Let's see. Hermes is simply too strong, says Tomer. Too much quality. Geert says, regardless of the result, it'd be one hell of a match. Yeah, that's certainly true. The days of 100 kilogram pullers touching the top guys is over. How much did John weigh in those slotty days? He was pretty heavy, right? I think for John, at least. Was he like 110 or something, or?
Well, there are a number of years he made sure to make the 95 kg class.
Okay.
So I'd have to look at the results. So because I know at least some of the time he was 95.
Right.
Not the one above, but usually I think that's what he would be. So probably game day, probably about 220 pounds.
Okay, that's
in those.
Yeah, that's a heavy John. Damn. And he looked good carrying that weight. Yeah, he looked very clean.
Whereas 2006, he was in like 240 range. So he was.
Damn.
Yeah.
Crazy. Tomer says, personally, I see these as Hermes holds him, chuckles inside, and flash pins.
Oh, I don't think it would be that much. I don't think the difference is that much.
No, it might not be that much. Was a very dominant John there. Jacob Tyson says, John has the hand, but Hermes has weird back pressure magic. Yeah, I could see it going to like something like maybe a flop wrist for Hermes or something, and just powering through there with John taking the hand, because Hermes' hand still gets taken when he faces some of his peers, even now. So yeah, that might be how it goes, Jacob. Here Dylan says, Arm Historian, how you feeling about your own upcoming match? Yeah, I have my very first super match is like in the cards for me, Eric.
Yeah.
I'm facing the 85 kilogram national champ of the Philippines.
Okay.
Sean Chispa. You probably haven't heard of him, but yeah, really excited about it. I'm traveling to the Philippines and I'm going to be visiting as many arm wrestling clubs as I can, and one of the people there, asked me for a super match. So yeah, why not? A friendly super match.
I have a feeling you're going to tower over most of those people.
That's true. I think Sean is about 167 centimeters, so I don't know what that is in feet exactly. I think it's like 5'5" or something, or 5'6" or something.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm about 195 to 198, somewhere in that range. So yeah, it'll be interesting. He's got the experience on me, so we'll see. I don't have any national titles.
Right.
So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be nice. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, maybe one day I can enter a tournament where I'm like eligible to be put on the arm wrestling archives. That would be nice if I could ever get like high up in the Europeans or something. Who knows? Or in the Worlds. It'd be nice. Okay, let's see here how the match is going. Hermes has 75% of the votes so far over John. So chat seems to largely agree here. Yeah, I really can't see it go any other way, and I say this like a little bit of sadness, because I think we're at that point where most of the top 5, I think, probably stand a very good chance against Prime John, if not beat him outright, I would even dare to say. Which is, yeah, it actually means that the sport is probably really evolving and our pool of talent is getting bigger, which is in the end a good thing. That's what we want to see.
Yeah.
Let's see here if someone else. Gary would hurt him talking about the previous match. Gary's not human. Well, unfortunately, he didn't make that round. Gian said about that round, remember that Todd has been kicked out of the pond to go into a bigger one in Wall, and that never happened again. Yeah, that's true. He was forced to pull up in weight, right, at a certain point.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, yeah, this match hasn't moved since. 7 minutes have passed. So we'll end the poll here with Hermes being the clear-cut winner, which unfortunately means John Berzink will be going to the losers bracket, which I don't know if that has happened before in the Fans League. Probably. Let's take a look here. Hermes the winner. Well done, Hermes. I'll let you guys join in looking at the brackets. So that means that Devon will be facing either Dave Chafee or Vitaly Aletin, and John will be facing either Travis Bagent or Todd Hutchings in the next round. So let's do the Dave Chafee versus Vitaly Aletin round. I feel like that's a good one to do now, the losers round 3. Yeah, Dave Chafee versus Vitaly Aletin. It's a match we had very recently. One of my favorite matches of the last couple of years. I don't know if you agree with that there.
The one that Dave won, you mean?
Yeah, the one that Dave won.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
That was a great match.
Yeah, just awesome. A brutal match. When do you think Dave's prime is? I'll start off with asking that.
I would think circa 2015. 2015. I mean, I know he had his one win against Saplankov in 2013. But in 14-15, he was like the clear champion of the WAL.
Right.
He was. They called him easy money for a reason. In those years, yeah. If I had to pick year 2015, I don't. It's possible he's close to the same level he was right now. He's at the same level, but I think back then he didn't have as many injuries. It looked easy for him.
Right.
So sometime around the middle of the 2010s is when I think he was at his peak. Whereas Vitaly, I would say, is probably now. There's a few guys on this list who right now are probably as strong as they've ever been. So
yeah, I think Hermes and Vitaly are two clear candidates for that, for sure.
So this is. I mean, we have the 4-3 victory that Dave had in late 2022. Then they pulled again in early last year, and Vitaly won 5-1. So Vitaly clearly got better. Dave, who knows? But he didn't. I don't think he improved. Just the way that the streak that Vitaly's had, or the trajectory he's had, I think I would put the edge. I would think Vitaly would have. I would give the edge. Prime Vitaly versus Prime Dave. I would give the edge to Vitaly slightly.
Yeah.
And then if we look at their previous matches in this tournament, so Dave beat Matt first round, and then he lost to Hermes, I believe. Yes. Is that correct? Yeah.
Hang on. Dave won to Matt, yes, indeed, and then he lost to Hermes. Yes, you're right.
Right, and I think he would beat Matt pretty fast. Hermes, I think would have been probably more of a battle.
Yeah.
And we know that Dave is, if you look, you've probably noticed this, his history in super matches, there's so many matches where he's won the first 2 matches only to lose the next 3.
Yeah.
So he's, right off the bat, he's super strong, but he drains fast.
Yeah, which might kind of benefit him in this format more than in a super match format.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And Vitaly, he lost to Travis first round, and then he beat Michael Todd.
Indeed, yep.
Michael Todd would have been a long one. So, yeah, I think Dave would probably be fresher for this. This is another case where, if they were
fresh, yeah.
I think Vitaly is a slight edge, but given the previous rounds, it's closer than I would have thought. I still say Vitaly, but it's close.
Yeah, and I think their match a couple of years ago now is probably a pretty good indicator at how Vitaly deals with Dave Chafee's style, I think, because Dave Chafee in his prime was probably stronger than he was in that match versus Vitaly, I would think so, possibly at least. So yeah, very interesting, and I don't think Vitaly would be that much stronger than he was then.
Right.
So yeah, it might be, because my first instinct, honestly, is Vitaly would take this. Like, especially, like you said, if we're looking fresh for fresh, I think Vitaly would just take it outright. But considering the tournament fatigue from this league, and then A couple of other factors here, yeah. I'm kind of seeing it. I'm kind of seeing Dave Chafee having a good chance against Vitali. It seems that Chad is agreeing with us on that front, at least. With Chafee winning pretty comfortably over Vitali, which, honestly, it's not the result I would have expected from Chad. I don't know about you, Eric.
Right. Yeah, no, I thought Vitali would have had more people would have picked Vitali.
Yeah,
but I mean,
me
that's
too.
the interesting thing about this tournament is so many guys were so high. The level is so high that it's it's meant to be tight for most of these matches.
That's
it's not
true.
meant to be a clear winner. So
That's very true, yeah. Let's see what people are saying here. This all depends on if Dave can get to the straps. That's a pretty good point, yeah. Chuck says, I believe Prime Chafee was pure side pressure machine that could bring some problems to Vitali even as of today. Yeah, that's coming back to like the kind of style they have, and I think Vitali, as evidenced by their last match, has a bit of issues with Dave's style there. Tomer says, I think Dave has a chance if he can get to the straps, but I will not forget that Dave got flash pinned by Pushkar in 2015 A1. Vitali has amazing endurance though, but for freshness, it's Dave. Interesting. Jacob says Dave's hand after the first Vitali match seems to have gone down really bad. Yeah, might be the case. Dave is always kind of a up and down puller, especially the last couple of years. I feel like that's at least kind of the impression I get. Maybe it's personal stuff, maybe it's like injuries flaring up or something. I know he has like a very serious neck injury or something, or like shoulder injury or something like that. So yeah, that might be the case. Verbeer says, question for Eric, how would Yves Gravel do it in arm wrestling? I don't know who that is.
So Yves, you may have. So Yves Gravel was featured in a recent video by Magnus Mitbo, one of the most popular climbing influencers.
Yep.
Anyway, so this video got 7 million views in about a week, and then part of that clip was on Joe Rogan. So Joe Rogan actually saw the clip.
Okay.
So Yves Gravel is the pound for pound #1 grip sport athlete in the world.
Okay.
But he's that's just a side thing. He's a very elite climber, very, very pound for pound. It's phenomenal strength. And I'm one of the very few people who have arm wrestled him. Because he used to come to my place every week to train for grip. And then a few years ago, I said, I want to feel you on the arm wrestling table. And this guy, he's not very big. He's maybe 5'6", 145 pounds. I tell you, all he needs is a bit of motivation, and he would be a national champion. I would predict the first year out. His level is extremely high.
Really?
Yeah. So he's just one of these super athletes, right? And obviously, if he throws arm wrestling, that he's probably taking away from his first passion, which is climbing. So that's why he's never. I came close to getting him to enter a few amateur tournaments just to see. He hasn't pulled the plug yet, but yes, the guy has a ton of potential.
Okay.
I've arm wrestled enough people, enough lightweight guys, and just what I felt that very first night when he didn't know what he was doing. He was very, very, very impressive. Yeah, if you want to get a sense of what he can do, check out Magnus Mitbo.
Yeah.
One of his recent videos. It's incredible.
yeah. I actually love me some Magnus Mitbo. From time to time, I catch up on his videos. I'll definitely be watching that.
And that guy's a freak in his own right. And this video, you just see that he's completely blown away. He's like, I've never seen somebody do this stuff. So it's a fun little video to watch.
Yeah, for sure. I'll check that out. There you have it, Verbeer. That's a pretty nice answer. I think that might be an arm historian scoop. You heard it here from Eric Roussin, was actually arm wrestled Yves, it seemed. So yeah, awesome. It would be great to see him in the sport, or someone like that at least in the sport. And meanwhile, our match has ended with Chafee winning the match. 72% of the votes going to Chafee. So very interesting there. Not at all what I expected from chat, but there we go. Michael Merck says Prime Chafee. Here Dylan says, cast my vote for La Latin, but democracy be what it be. Yes, indeed. Vitali is too exhausted to beat Dave, says Stomer. Yeah, that's a good point. Might be the case here.
Yeah, that Michael Todd match would have taken something out of him for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, here you go. Dave Chaffee wins it, and Vitaly Aletin is out of here, which means that in the losers round 4, which is we'll do probably next week Sunday, Devin Larratt will be facing Dave Chaffee. But for now, our last match of the day, Travis Bagent versus Todd Hutchings. Yeah, it is an interesting match to me. I was gonna say maybe it's gonna be one-sided, but it is a little interesting to me the more I think about it, at least. What do you think, Eric? Do you think it would be close?
I don't. I think Travis would flash him.
Yeah.
I really do. I think prime Travis, not today's Travis.
Sure, yeah.
But prime Travis, I think he would hit him right to the pad.
Right.
I really do. And you know, I'm like everyone else on in the chat. I'm a huge Todd fan, but I don't know. Travis at his size and weight and his power off the go.
Yeah.
And it would happen so fast. I don't think Todd would be able to get the straps. I think it would just be boom.
Right. Yeah. I'd have to agree there. I think. There's Todd Hutchings is a crazy puller to me. He's one of those freak factor kind of pullers, still is. Where it's just I don't know. If I try to pull like Todd Hutchings, I dislocate my elbow, I'm pretty sure. Or something happens to me when I try to pull like Todd Hutchings. It's not recommended. So I have no clue here, like how strong he actually is compared to some of the heavier guys. Like you said, Dave Chaffee kind of manhandles him in training still. I would have to assume in a match it would be very similar. So yeah, probably the edge would, in my mind, go to Travis Bagent too. Can't really see Travis not taking it here. Tomer says, is this even a match? Michael Merck says, definitely Travis. Meanwhile, 83% of chat has voted for Travis Bagent. Might be a little late in saying this, guys, but if you want to vote, open the little chat window if you're using your phone and just tap the name you want to vote for. It takes a second. If you're on desktop, just open the chat. It should be right next to the window you're watching. You can just vote there by clicking on the name you want. Just thought I'd throw that out there so you guys know. Yeah, my vote would go to Travis here. I think pretty clearly. Too strong, too fast off the go. I don't think Todd would be able to engage anything. We might as well take a quick look again at who they faced before in the tournament. Travis, Andrei Pushkar, obviously, won versus him, and then he came from, we talked about this before, I know, he lost versus Denis Iplenkov and won versus Vitaly Aletin, so... But yeah, Travis is one of those pullers where if he wins, the match probably didn't take long. So
same thing if he loses as well. They're not long matches. So
yeah, you're right. No matter what, they're never long matches. And then
I mean, there are some examples where that wasn't the case, but the
Richard Lupke's and stuff. It's like a famous one, I think.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Which is kind of, that match is always kind of an anomaly to me. I don't think I've seen a lot of other matches where Travis really takes his time, like holding people in a top roll, in an open top roll, kind of.
His matches with his first super match with Jerry Cataract those were long matches because he would take Jerry's hand, but you pull a guy like Jerry, he's hard to finish. So
right.
So there are examples, but
Travis,
generally speaking,
actually,
most of the Europeans.
Yeah, it was fast.
Yeah.
Travis actually pressed Jerry, right? A couple of times, didn't he, in WAL?
I think he got to the point where he was able to do it, yeah.
Which is a pretty big statement, being able to press through Jerry. I think Devin did it too at the WAL, but I also think WAL might not be so... The pads might not have been so good for pressers. compared to top rollers. Jude Duval says, "How you doing, Jude?" Says, "If Todd can make elbow fouls like Irakli jokes about Todd, win east." Wait, I have to deconstruct that. Win easy. Okay, so if Todd can make elbow fouls like Irakli, or like Irakli jokes about Todd, he wins easy, I think is what Jude Duval is trying to say, or something like that. I'm still trying to decipher this message, but thanks for the message anyway, Jude. Gert says, "Remember to also hit the like button." Yeah, I appreciate you, Gert. Tomer says, "Prime Travis had it all. Press Jerry had a post, had a sweeping top roll, and had everything but a hook." Yeah, that's true. Did Travis hook ever in his professional career?
Not by choice, at least.
Right. Only when he was forced to. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen him hook like willingly. Gertil says, "Tomer making sense all night." Yeah, I kind of agree there. Prime Travis is a very dangerous man to face in a tournament setting too. You've only got one chance, and if he, I don't know, do you know if Travis? I think this is a pretty obvious answer, maybe that's gonna be to this question, but Travis messed around in the setup a lot, right? Travis took a lot in the setup. Do you think it contributed a lot to his wins, the way he handled the setup?
Oh, sure. I mean, most of these top-level guys, they know exactly what they want. So, yeah, he's one of the better setup guys, I would say, for sure.
Yeah. That maybe opens the door to another, like, slight tangenty question. Do you think the notion of Eastern pullers not being so tricky in the setup holds true? Or do you think it's just a visual thing where maybe some of the Western pullers are more outgoing with what they want in the setup and Eastern pullers just take it more quietly?
I think with the new leagues, I think they're learning to play the game a lot more. I think they're trying to maneuver and cheat as much as everyone else. It might not be as obvious.
Yeah.
I would guess that with their history of more the national championships, the WAF World Championships, where it's a lot stricter, so maybe it was a little harder to play those games. So maybe they're not used to it. But I would think right now that they're learning to play the game, and you sort of have to, right? You don't want to start in a position if you're not comfortable, right? So it's I'm sure they're playing the game to start, but yeah, it's not always as obvious because they're not as loud about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you tense up before the go, Eric? You load?
I worry about losing. I'm not fast, so I'm trying to just. My arm is pretty tense because I'm just trying to find a way to absorb the hit.
Right.
But the thing is, the more you tense, the slower you'll be. So it's. But I'm not a big fighter. I've been told I'm too fair, so I probably don't fight as much as I should on the initial setup.
Yeah, so. I think we share that on the table a little bit. I'm a little too giving sometimes when it comes to the setup, just to get the match going.
Like I guess I'm. Is the referee's grip? Who knows? I've been in not too many referees' grip over the years, but I was always afraid. Like I would prefer to. I would prefer to get a grip, before getting the rest grip. But if I'm just not getting it, I probably should have just, let's go to the rest grip and take my chances, right? But,
that makes a lot of,
It was, to me, it was always intimidating. Like, I don't want to risk it. I'd rather try and get something that I'm sort of somewhat comfortable with outside of that. But
I get it, because rest grips, even for me, has been, with my limited experience, I've noticed that it's a very... it can be an up or down experience. Like every ref's grip feels very different to me. Some I feel like I don't have anything at all and I'm already in disadvantaged position, and some it feels like the ref is doing the work for me.
Right.
Yeah, really, really strange experience. I guess it'll come with pulling more. I'll probably get the hang of it a little better. But yeah, meanwhile, the match has ended with Travis Bagent winning with 67% of the vote, so still relatively close there. Todd Hutchings still managed to secure 1/3 of the votes. But well done, Travis Bagent. That concludes our last match. We'll take a quick look at what that did to our brackets here and what we can expect next week, when it'll be the maybe ultimate episode, but probably the penultimate episode where I'll be doing the finals with fewer call-ins, maybe something like that, and having a really long match. This time I've also checked the right button, Eric, just so you know, where we'll get an actual, like, the person coming from the losers bracket needs to win twice to get the actual title this time. So
Right.
yeah, that'll be good. But here, as you can see, Travis Bajent moving on. Next week he'll be facing John Brzenk, and then we'll have Devin Larratt versus Dave Chafee, and Denis Iplenkov versus Hermes Gasparini in the winners finals, which honestly I expected Devin to still be in the winners finals.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. I expected John to be still in the tournament. He is still in the tournament, but I don't know if I expected him to be in the losers bracket. I think John even won one of the fantasy leagues, or like came in second or something.
Yeah, he won last year.
Yeah, there you go. So very interesting that he's in the losers bracket right now, but he might fight his way back and win once again. So yeah, there you go, Eric. I appreciate it so much, man. It's always super fun having you on, like with any format. Just talking to you about arm wrestling, always a great experience.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well, my friend.
Yeah, it's awesome, and I'd love to have you on again. People, seriously, if you're at all interested in the history of our sport, and I figure if you're watching this either on the replay or live, you probably are somewhat interested, take a look at the armwrestlingarchives.com. I mean, that website is just, I don't know, it's just, sometimes I don't get where you find the time, Eric, to do all these things, because I know you're very involved with grip sport as well. So it's crazy to me where you find the time to keep updating the website still to this day. But I'm so happy that it's there as a resource, not only for content creators, but just every arm wrestler in general. Is there something else you'd like to plug, Eric? Something you're doing or something you want people to check out?
Well, I might as well plug my tournament, my big annual tournament. So I host the Ottawa Open Arm Wrestling Championships every November. This year it's November 15th and 16th. It's the biggest annual tournament in North America. Last year we had 734 entries.
Holy.
Who knows? We might have more this year. We'll see. It's run over 2 days, but it's very efficient. Each day is only about 5 or 6 hours. And if you compete, you're actually don't even need to stick around that long, because once your class starts, I go from beginning to end, and then we do right and left back to back. So you might only be there an hour or two. You can stick around for the whole weekend if you want, but
damn, I low-key love that, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, we run 5 tables, have the cool Bison Awards for the open class, and there's a lot of incentives, chances to win money and free entries and a whole bunch of things. So if you have any interest in that, I suggest searching out the event on Facebook. There's an event page, and clicking like or interested, and then you'll be aware of all the little bells and whistles I'll be adding to this contest between now and the next 6 months.
Awesome. Yeah, and what's the date again? Say one more time.
November 15, 16.
Okay.
Ottawa, Ontario, Canada.
Awesome, you heard it here, guys. And I think I've watched one of these tournaments through the cell phone of Devin Larratt, I think.
Probably.
Who was live streaming the event. I think I even got him to give you a quick hello from me while you were busy organizing everything there, Eric.
Was it 2 years or 3 years ago? 2.5 years ago. So the 2022 event, I was really surprised because he actually ended up pulling the left-hand class. Now, this is 1 week before his right-hand match with Trudnick.
Right.
And I'm like, wow. I mean, I didn't expect that. I know it's not the right arm, but still, to get into a tournament a week before.
Yeah.
But it made the event even more exciting. And yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And Devin is one of those people who will just do that, I guess, and just not care about it, which, in my opinion, is a really cool thing to do. But yeah, definitely check that tournament out, guys. It's great fun. When I've seen it, it's been awesome to watch. Very well run. Also, it's crazy to me how you can run a tournament with 700 plus people. I can't even imagine. Plus, what you said about people only having to be there for like an hour or two or something, the way you're doing it, I wish people here would do it the same way, because I'm often stuck in a tournament for a really long time, just the entire day for pulling like couple minutes in total.
Yeah,
so.
I had to do it out of necessity because the venue, I'm at max capacity throughout the whole time, and basically it's just a way to get people in and out of the venue so that not everyone has to be there the whole time. So
okay,
but people like, and I give the awards out immediately. So if you finish your class, you don't have to wait till the end of the day. You get your awards right there.
Okay, I'm gonna, like, we have a very big, like, international training coming up next week, Thursday, and there's gonna be some local tournament organizers, and I'm gonna bring that format up to people because I think even on a smaller scale, that could really work well, and would improve attendance to a degree. So awesome, Eric, it's been great. Thank you so much. Chat, thank you for sticking around, voting. There wouldn't be a Fantasy League without you guys. I think there's gonna be 2 more of these, and then I'm gonna be leaving for the Philippines, but there'll be a lot of content coming up. I'll finish my mini-series on John Brzezinski before that, and I'll also film my super match there, and a couple of other things are in the works as far as that goes, like visiting different clubs and stuff, and kind of getting an idea on how they do stuff there. There's a surprisingly big arm wrestling community there. Like every city I'm visiting, which are quite a few there, I found an arm wrestling club, which is
very cool.
Yeah, crazy. I had no idea, but even if you look at like their language is Tagalog, their main language, and even if you look at some of the channels in Tagalog on YouTube, there's arm wrestling channels with over 100k subscribers and stuff. Yeah. So the sport is really big there. So I'm looking forward to exploring that a little and sharing it with you guys. Until next time, guys, it's been great fun. I'll see you next Sunday, probably an hour later than today. But keep your eyes on my social media for the details on that. Until then, bye-bye, guys.